Los Angeles descends into lawlessness, an invasion, insurrection, flying the flag of foreign countries while political leaders call for an increase in lawlessness. Chaos in Los Angeles. 2, Kurt Schlicter, the author of Los Angeles, Silver Bullets on the Sunset Strip, joins us on the National Guard in the showdown between California Governor Gavin Newsom and President Donald Trump. 3, Simone Biles goes after Riley Gaines for standing up for women, keeping men out of women's sports. And she laughs, Simone Biles, from 30,000 feet above on a private jet. It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page. Every Monday through Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. Set a reminder. Subscribe to the Will Cain Show on YouTube. Jump into the comments section, and you too are a member of the militia. If you're listening on terrestrial radio and some 36 stations across this great United States of America, just hit subscribe at Apple or on Spotify and hang out with us whenever and however you like at the Will Cain Show. We got Tinfoil Pat, we got Two-A-Days Dan, we got a brand new week, and we got a cycle full of news. What's up, fellas? How are we doing today?
Good. Feeling better. But it's been a wild weekend in the news.
I don't know. I don't
better.
feel
We can
like
hear it in your
really
voice.
Anything is happening.
You just took your glasses off there for a minute, and it was like I didn't even recognize you. When you came on camera, you didn't have your glasses on, and it was like a different person, Patrick. Take the glasses off real quick. I don't think I've ever seen you without your glasses. Yeah, that is an entirely different person.
Yeah.
That's not just a
Like
different look.
Superman
That's-
Clark Kent.
Yeah, you're the closest to Superman and Clark Kent I've ever seen. Take them off again. Like almost unrecognizable. Come on, show us. This is insane. Look at that.
Well,
That's a different
go.
person.
it's producer mode, dad mode. Producer mode, dad mode.
Yeah, how about that? I've never been a glasses guy. Never worn glasses. I wonder how much that would change my look. Like if I just,
A lot.
you know.
You don't want to do it.
You think?
It's not worth it.
I think you would look like a completely different person.
I hate it, to be honest.
What kind of person?
I don't know,
What
but
kind of person?
even you with a beard from your ESPN days, I see those pictures. You look like such a different person. Not a bad way. It's just
Really?
different. Yeah. Like so different.
See, that concerns me.
No.
Like the beard probably butches me up a little bit. Like it's a little bit more masculine version of Will.
No,
right?
just more hipster.
And I don't have it. Hipstery.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't want that.
Yeah. See?
I feel like with the way that I look, if I did the glasses, like Patrick, if I were a glasses guy, I would look like a host on MSNBC.
Yes.
I feel like it wouldn't work for me, you know?
Yeah.
And then what do you get? Do you get like horn-rimmed glasses? Do you get the wire-rimmed, low-profile glasses? It's all a big decision. And I'm not sure. I think you're communicating that you're erudite, right? You're communicating you're smart by even using the word erudite, right?
Yeah, I was going to say.
And they become a good TV trick. Like you can take them on and off. Like you're making a point, you know?
True.
Politicians
And
do that a
everybody knows
lot.
and everybody knows I have trouble knowing what to do with my hands. So maybe if I had glasses, I could constantly, be making a point the entire time I'm leaning in.
Christopher Admire in the comments section says you would look like Buddy Holly if you had glasses.
I look like Buddy Holly. That's interesting. Huh.
So just
the
stay away
old
from
Ray-Bans,
planes.
did Buddy Holly wear did he have the Ray-Bans with like the corrective lenses? You know what I mean? Clear lenses? Because the Ray-Ban look, like Jack Nicholson, the weight, it's just a solid look. I think don't you think that one is now standing the test of time? Like, I don't think you're a hipster if you're wearing those, but you're also stylish. I don't know. But if you go so far as to put clear lenses in them, you're probably trying too hard.
Way too hard.
So I do think your lenses, your frames are perfect for your face, Patrick. Like I think that's the right shape.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I literally have to do this because these are the only ones big enough for my wide head. Otherwise, it's like
What size of hat? What size of hat are you?
7 3/4.
By the way, Will,
You're 7 3/4. That's a big noggin.
I have some evidence for later this week of tinfoil Pat's height.
Well, why do you have evidence?
There's picture evidence that I have a reference frame of someone else he's with. So we can do that later this week at some point. It's interesting.
Oh, I'd love that deep dive. Is he actually 6'1" as claimed,
Save
or
it. Save it.
5'8" as suspected? So we can dive into that.
Yeah.
See if ChatGPT can help you out with that. Hey, speaking of politicians, man, I am burned up today. More clips I see of Gavin Newsom, the madder I am getting. And what is happening in L.A., it's insane the way it has broken down in terms of there are actual people. In fact, Two-A-Days is friends with some of these people who see this as a great act of civil defiance, in fact, of patriotism. And I'm going to be honest with you, the way I see this, I could see nothing closer to sedition than what I am seeing in Los Angeles. Let's get all into it with story number one. Los Angeles is approaching its fourth day of riots over ICE deportations. People taking to the streets, burning cars, Waymo coming in for particular damage, the self-driving driverless car, version of Uber. I don't know, something like, 16, a couple dozen of these were burned in the streets of Los Angeles. Cars burned all over the place. People rioting, chunking rocks at LAPD officers. And all the while, the entirety of the time, waving the flag of Mexico, among other flags. Take a look at some of this if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. You can see as cars are burning in the streets of Los Angeles, Waymo vehicles up in flames, and people waving Mexican flags in the background. Multiple Mexican flags by the rioters. There's a couple famous photos already going around. There's a rioter standing atop one of these burned out vehicles, waving the Mexican flag. And then there is a photo that, you know what? I don't care which side of this issue you stand on. This photo might win the Pulitzer. In front of, Los Angeles icon Dale's Donuts and a whole group of people standing there. One guy's waving the Mexican flag. The other's got it draped around his shoulders. They're wearing masks. Some of them seem to be making gang signs pointed down. One guy's wearing what do you call that? Two-A-Days, I don't know. What is that? It's somewhere in the Middle East, that thing they wear on their head, the black and white checkered thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Off the top of my head.
Kifa?
Yeah.
Something like that. That photo tells a story. Guys riding around on little mini motorcycles and motorcycles throughout Los Angeles. Again, all the while waving the Mexican flag. It is quite a astonishing scene that people are standing and rioting and committing violence purportedly as an act of defiance against ICE deportations of illegal immigrants. All the while standing for, celebrating, defiantly holding the flag of a country, presumably where they do not want to be deported. Now, it's not just the Mexican flag, by the way. There's images out there of people holding Palestinian flags, Central American flags. And let me ask you a question. What is the point of waving a foreign flag? I've always had trouble with this. I've had troubles with immigrants, legal and illegal alike, waving the flag of foreign countries in America. The most times you see this is at sporting events. And, I have a lot of friends. I'm a big soccer fan. My sons play soccer, who've come from other countries. And it's just honestly rubbed me the wrong way. Whenever I have seen someone living in America and celebrating America losing to another country. Now, I'm not talking about, say, it's Mexico versus El Salvador and cheering for Mexico. But when it's Mexico versus the United States cheering for Mexico. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I went to the National Medal of Honor Museum and hung out with a Medal of Honor winner who was an immigrant from France, and he's an incredible guy. And of course, not only did he immigrate here at the age of 11, but then he signed up for the United States Army because he told me he wanted to earn his citizenship. Obviously, he gave almost everything short of the ultimate sacrifice for this country, lost his friends, received the Medal of Honor. And I asked him, we were just talking because we're both soccer fans. I said, if France plays U.S., who you root for? He said, France. I said, really? He goes, look, man, I've got to hang on to something from where I'm from and from my heritage, my culture. So soccer is going to be it. And, I got it. And it kind of made me more sympathetic to people that would root for their, I don't know, either country they immigrated from or maybe even their ethnic or familial lineage. But not when you're rioting in the streets of America. That is an overt political statement that is, again, overtly anti-American. There are those that today are going to try to make the argument that this is civil defiance. The argument and the image they want to paint is that it's against an authoritarian central government coming in and snatching up American citizens. In fact, or not, maybe not even American citizens, just people here in America. 2 days, you're always our correspondent on the left because you've got friends, and that's great. And so do I. I think you're in better touch with them. And you were telling us this morning, what is not the argument, the narrative that they've bought into, the reason that you said some of your friends are out there protesting on the streets of Los Angeles. And I say the word protesting because I don't know, you haven't told me there's any evidence of them particularly rioting. But if they are, I'm not going to call it a protest.
They're mainly saying, I've been seeing stories of friends out there, people I haven't talked to in a long time, but that I see, that are saying that, there's peaceful protests. It's not all rioting. And the main thing is that they're just against the image of what ICE is doing, I guess is what they're saying. But they're kind of like glazing over the fact that there are riots happening. There is destruction and chaos. And just to say that
there's peaceful why protests. Are they protesting?
Because,
what is the narrative for why they are protesting?
Because of what ICE is doing, coming into L.A., defending their streets. They're defending their streets from ICE, from the authoritarian regime. That's it.
Okay. I can't emphasize this enough. The left has a law problem. They have a lawlessness problem. Now, when I say problem, that is meant to suggest there is something that is metastasized or gotten out of control. But honestly, if you're on the left, you have to ask yourself at this point if it's not part of actually what you believe. Illegal immigration is a crime. Now, there are going to be those that try to play this semantic nuance game. No, it's a civil penalty. The number of crimes that you have to commit to be in this country as an illegal immigrant is almost unquantifiable. You're committing tax fraud. You're committing, if you're paying taxes and you have Social Security, then you're committing identity theft. If I stood in your living room, someone said this well on X, you say, it's not a crime for me to stand in your living room. It's a crime for me to break and enter into your home to be standing in your living room, much less the charge of trespass. Every step of the way, it is a crime. And to see people today riot, protest, and passionately defend the right to commit a crime free of consequences is stunning. And that is what's happening with the Trump administration and his ICE. They're trying to enforce laws on the books. By the way, laws are rules voted on democratically by the people. So you are anti-democratically flouting the laws and the rules elected by the people of the United States. And for ICE to find and deport, and by the way, we have polling on this. It's incredibly popular. The vast majority of Americans want illegal aliens deported from this country. So for you to suggest that this is your great big moment of principle, here's my question for you. What principle are you standing upon? Because from this vantage point, it appears only the principle of lawlessness. And to compound that effect, you now have politicians elected to represent American citizens, championing the rights of people, championing breaking the law. Gavin Newsom is at this point nothing more than a leader of chaos. He is not democratic. He does not represent the will of the American people, the American citizen. He does not represent the laws of the state of California. He does not represent enforcing the laws of the United States of America. So what is he? He is a chaos agent. And as some would say, that is insurrection. Listen to Gavin Newsom talking to the ICE director, Tom Homan.
Tom Homan, the border czar, said to me yesterday he did not rule out literally arresting you, nor Mayor Bass, if you interfere in his words. He said you hadn't yet.
He's a tough guy. Why doesn't he do that? He knows where to find me. But you know what? Let your hands off 4-year-old girls that are trying to get educated. Let your hands off these poor people. They're just trying to live their lives, man. Trying to live their lives, paying their taxes. Been here 10 years. The fear, the horror. The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy.
You know, in that entire diatribe, look at the language that he uses. Living in this country for 10 years, paying taxes, but not an American citizen and therefore no right to be in this country. So you stand for lawlessness and chaos, or you, and this is clear, this isn't projection, this doesn't even require analysis. This simply requires the ability to connect dots. And it's not that hard to connect. This is literally child's play dot connecting. You are for open borders. You do not believe in the concept of legal immigration. You don't believe in it. You think anybody that wants to come to America should be allowed to come to America. Joe Biden's open border policies for 5 years show that. Sanctuary cities illustrate that. You protesting the enforcement of deportation show that. You rioting in the face of the enforcement of the law nail that in the coffin. You stand for open borders. It doesn't even seem important to me to even name this point because there's something more important, but that makes you incredibly unpopular. The American people do not want open borders. For that matter, neither do the English, neither do the French, neither do Hungarians. No one wants it. That's why you're seeing right-wing populist movements win across the world. Nobody wants it. But popularity is almost beside the point to me. You don't believe in the nation state. A nation state must have borders. If it doesn't have borders, it's not a nation state. It's a drain at the bottom of a bathtub. It just collects whatever floats its way. And you do so under the guise of humanity and empathy and these are, melting pot cultures. You are nothing more than the hair and snot that clogs at the bottom of a drain. That's what you're asking your country to be. A nation state starts with a finite pool of people. And throughout our history, Bacardi sellers or randos on CNN talking about we've always been a nation of immigrants, but not unfettered illegal immigration, quotas, immigration enforcement, selective immigration. That's what it has been. Yeah, I know it says, send me you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry. But we didn't. That's not what we said, but we never actually opened our borders in that way. And when you combine the embrace of open borders, I guess I don't know what it is, a globalist society, if anybody can live anywhere, this brings together the far left and libertarians. Anybody can live anywhere. Beautiful cultures all melting once. If that's the case, by the way, Gavin Newsom, why don't you become mayor of Sarajevo? Why don't you go somewhere where they have a real culture clash and real diversity? Muslims and Christians and Bosnians and Serbs. Anywhere where you have this thing that you dream of a melting pot of cultures. And tell me how it works there, by the way. Tell me how it's going. You have a nation state. And by the way, the purpose of a nation state is to preserve a culture, a way of life, a way of advancement and progress for an identified group of people. It's not chaos. So you're for open borders. You don't believe in the nation state. You stand for chaos in opposing the enforcement of laws. And you don't just tolerate, you celebrate people waving the flags of foreign countries on the streets of America while burning down cars, chunking rocks at law enforcement officials. What are you at this point? Seriously, what are you, Gavin Newsom? What are you, Democratic Party? What are you, rioter? What are you, friends of friends here who are protesters? What are you actually? Because I don't look at you and I don't see Guy Fawkes. I don't see Jennifer Lawrence in the Hunger Games, standing up against an authoritarian empire. I see chaos agents who don't believe in the United States of America. Let's break this down more with Kurt Schlichter, who wrote a book, Los Angeles, Silver Bullets on the Sunset Strip, coming up next on The Will Cain Show. Hey, we're just days away from Father's Day. My wife keeps saying, what do you want for Father's Day? What do you want? Well, I can tell you, it's not really about the gifts on Father's Day. It's about time. It's about moments. It's about family. In one of the scenarios, obviously, where you have some of the best times with the family is the backyard, throwing some steaks on the grill, enjoying the day. That's why Omaha Steaks hits different. Dads don't want another gadget or a golf shirt. We want steak and time. Time represented by that steak. Omaha Steaks makes it easy to give an unforgettable gift. Their steaks are perfectly aged for tenderness and hand cut by master butchers. The flavor, incredible. I've had their filet mignon, which is a USDA certified tender, and I just tried their new smash burgers. Did it as a rock star dad when mom was out of town. Those things are built for the grill. And again, it's not just steaks, it's chicken, pork, seafood, even desserts, all delivered to your door or ready for pickup in-store. Everything backed by their 100% money-back guarantee. Omaha Steaks has been family-owned company for over 100 years, and you can taste that legacy in every bite. So this Father's Day, do what I'd want. Fire up the grill and give Dad the world's best steak experience. Go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code WILL at checkout, and then you get an extra $35 off. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code WILL at checkout. See site for details. More on the chaos in Los Angeles next on The Will Cain Show. Kurt Schlichter is the author of Los Angeles, Silver Bullets on the Sunset Strip. And he's going to join us here on The Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, on the Fox News Facebook page. Hey, hit subscribe at Apple or on Spotify. Kurt Schlichter joins us now. What's up, Kurt?
Oh, just, it's a delightful day here in Los Angeles. Everybody thinks that there's chaos and violence all over the place. Nah, there's some trouble downtown where, pretty much bums and degenerates are, and then a little trouble in some of the outskirter towns to the east. But the rest of Los Angeles is just fine. It's all an illusion, Will. It's a giant information operation, and all your listeners are the targets.
What do you mean it's an illusion? You don't think it's... Are you saying it's not as big of a deal as maybe even I've made it out to be this morning?
No, it's not a big deal kinetically. That is, it's not... there are no giant no-go areas. There aren't massive fires. There aren't massive amounts of violence. I was out in the Los Angeles riots with 3rd Battalion, 160th Infantry in 1992. Now, that was a riot. That was a kinetic operation. This is an information operation. This is a relatively small number of incidents hyped up by the regime media, designed to support Democrat policies, but also designed to give some deniability to the Democrat establishment. And what they're trying to do is convince the American people, oh my gosh, we've got to submit to what they want because otherwise there's going to be violence. But Donald Trump seems to have seen through this. He seems to understand the nature of an information operation. And by effectively resisting it, that is not backing down, mobilizing National Guard soldiers who are not actually out busting heads. They're doing point security. He has sent a message that this can be resisted, that you can choose to support law and order, and that kind of neuters the ability of their information operation to succeed.
Okay, so hold on for a second. So you're distinguishing this from what happened in 92, 93
Yes.
With the riots after Rodney King. And I know how the television can play, the camera can play tricks and make it seem like something is much bigger or smaller, whatever the intended message is, than it actually is.
Yep.
But what I'm hearing from you today is this isn't as big as you think it is. Now, okay, in terms of scope and size, I hear you. But I got to tell you, Kurt, when I see dudes chunking rocks off the top of an overpass down on cop cars, when I see dozens of vehicles burned, when I see masked guys out there waving the Mexican and the, Guatemalan flag or whatever flag that is from Central America, waving the Palestinian flag, I'm going to be honest, my blood boils. Like this to me. But so is that what I'm supposed to do? Is you're telling me it's like information warfare? It's supposed to make me this angry?
It's supposed to make you angry, and it's supposed to make you feel hopeless, like nothing can be done. And their great hope is that Donald Trump will back down, not assert federal authority, lose face, lose power, and support their policies. They really don't like the idea of deporting the tens of millions of illegal aliens within the United States. So the whole purpose of this is to essentially create an illusion of chaos where you have no choice but to give in. And Donald Trump has not given in. He's actually confronted them. Bringing up the National Guard was an information operation. They're doing point security. They're actually just guarding positions. This isn't MPs. They're not trained to go out and do cop things. What they're doing is freeing up federal police to go out and do federal police things instead of standing there protecting buildings. So in that way, it does have a tactical effect. But the real effect is to tell America, hey, I'm bringing in the Army, the most respected institution in the United States, to help solve this problem. That's why the Democrats are going crazy. They're going crazy. They know this isn't the first step towards a giant coup d'etat. What they don't want is Donald Trump to defeat the information operation by seeming strong, by having a forceful response. The National Guard, which incidentally was taken out of Gavin Newsom's hands. Gavin Newsom commands the California National Guard until such time as they're federalized. He's basically neutered and humiliated his enemies. His enemies, the Karen Bass, who's the mayor of Los Angeles, Gavin Newsom, they're the ones in charge of the LAPD, the Highway Patrol, the sheriffs. And those are the guys who are out there actually confronting the rioters. They're the ones who are cowering. They're the ones who don't have the support of their leaders, who have to hide under overpasses to keep from having their heads smashed in from rocks. And everybody knows it. When they see LAPD backing away, it's Gavin Newsom backing away, not Donald Trump.
Okay, I want to walk through this. Let's go from the most it's like we're going to start 10 steps down the road and then back our way into the first step. So let's talk about the National Guard for a moment. So Gavin Newsom is out there, right?
Yes.
And he is he's going after Pete Hegseth because of Hegseth tweeted and talked about using Marines to go into Los Angeles. He's going after Donald Trump for the National Guard thing. And there are people who listen to guys like Gavin Newsom, and they believe, and they always have since 2015, that Donald Trump is a would-be authoritarian and we're on our way to the Handmaid's Tale. And that using this military satisfies their every dystopian narrative. And I think, in a way, I wonder if this is a victory for them. Like, they get validation. But this is what they've always... I don't even know. My point is, on these people... I'm going to set Gavin Newsom aside for a second because I think he's given us plenty of evidence. I don't know where they stand on immigration. I actually don't know where they stand. But I know they hate the image of ICE agents going in and getting people, and then they hate Donald Trump, National Guard, and they see it as part of this amorphous narrative of stormtroopers under Donald Trump taking over America.
Well, look, there are some people who are never going to be convinced. This is really targeted at the mass middle, right? The normal Americans who just want to go through their lives. And look at the imagery you're seeing of the National Guard guys. Okay, I was deputy commander of the brigade these guys are from. That was about 12 years ago. But they're great guys. Many of the senior leaders have combat experience. Most of them have responded to civil support operations. Gosh, I did 5 or 6. I don't even know how many I did. LA riots, Northridge earthquakes, San Diego fires. They're very good at this. Look at the guys. They're not stumble bums. They're in uniform. They look good. They're disciplined. And they're just standing there. And then you have footage of that shrieking harridan Maxine Waters, who was also a giant problem in 1992 when she was encouraging violence, out there shrieking at these troops who are very disciplined, and they're just standing there taking it. I don't think they're winning that image war. I don't think they're winning that optical battle. I think they're losing it. I think normal people look at that and say, I stand with those young soldiers. I stand with them, not these, not this idiot, not these bums, not these looters, these soldiers. Right. And the soldiers are behaving. They're disciplined. They're a source of pride.
Okay. You think you're right to focus on the mass middle. Sometimes I think we do it on social media. I think I do it as well. Sometimes you focus on the insanity, right? The people that are sitting there today, but the insanity is insanity. It is, we should never underestimate it, by the way, because it has great power to create violence on the streets or, as we've seen in the past, have influence over government. But we should be focused on the mass middle, to your point. I'm sitting here today looking at people like Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, Governor Gavin Newsom, and I can't imagine how any position they are taking represents the mass middle of even Californians. Now, you live there, Kurt. I lived there for a little bit. Just as a side note, I lived in a world in California. People never understand this, but I played water polo, and water polo is actually full of a bunch of guys. People think it's like a country club sport. It's absolutely not. It's full of a bunch of guys from like Simi Valley, and Orange County who, I don't know if they're blue collar, but these aren't country club guys, right? It's not that kind of sport. But my point is, the world I lived in was the mass middle you're talking about, where it's like, they kind of lean conservative, but they just get incredibly outvoted, I guess, by the urban centers of Los Angeles and San Francisco. And I can't imagine how the positions of people like Karen Bass and, more importantly, Gavin Newsom, who represents the state statewide, speaks to the mass middle.
Look, California has a lot of left-wing people. I mean, I live in the South Bay area near the beach, and you can walk along, and there are plenty of people with signs out front that read, "Hate has no home here. No human is illegal." The Chardonnay wine women types. That exists, and they are immune from reason because their political beliefs weren't acquired through reason. They were acquired as kind of a sacrament. I think they use their leftist nonsense to fill up that hole what normal people fill up with faith, family, and the flag. So look, there are a significant number you're never going to convince, but the continuous litany of failures that the Democratic Uniparty in California, and it is a uniparty, it is a supermajority of Democrats, is absolutely overwhelming. And of course, it came to a head during the fires, where some of the most liberal people in America were burned out. And they are still unable to rebuild because of the gross incompetence of Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom. And then now you have this. You have this disorder going on, and Gavin Newsom is incapable of suppressing it. Okay? He is incapable of bringing peace to the streets. Although there really isn't that much. It's still all over the TV, so you have the image of it. Donald Trump, on the other hand, he has freed his law enforcement to go out and target these criminals. And one of the things I'm most excited about is how the federal law enforcement is going to be able to target the networks of support for these people, the logistic, administrative, intelligence, planning support that allows these spontaneous uprisings to happen all over the country. I think this is, and
we already have some evidence on that, right? On these,
yes.
there is.
It's there, and the beauty is the United States military gained an enormous amount of experience mapping networks like this overseas. It's no different than mapping terrorist networks. One of the big hints: look at your Palantir stock. It's gone up about 50 points because they make the software that helps map out this kind of network of criminals. So we're going to be seeing more prosecutions. I think they're going to focus on violent rioters, not, the proverbial J6 person who is a grandma who walked through the Capitol taking selfies. They're not going to bother with that. They're going to get people who threw bricks at cops. They're going to get people who lit fires. And the American people are going to see prosecution after prosecution of this type of person, followed by prosecution of the kind of people who conspire to break federal laws by organizing these kind of criminal acts across state lines. This is a huge opportunity, and Donald Trump is really, and I know it's cynical to say, but he's benefiting politically. He looks better to normal American people because he's resisting this kind of chaos. He's raising support for his agenda of sending illegal aliens home. And this just made the big, beautiful bill stop being about whether we're going to spend X amount of dollars here and there. And it's all about immigration. I mean, my gosh, somebody ought to give Rand Paul an award for spending this weekend talking about how we're spending too much on the big, beautiful bill. No, this is what's going to solidify our immigration reform and allow us to throw people out of the country. That is now the subject of the big, beautiful bill, not taxes, not anything else.
All right, I want to come back to that in just a second. But, Kurt, what do you think I don't have this answer yet, but I'm thinking about what should happen with Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, Maxine, whatever. I don't understand elected politicians elected to represent the citizens of the United States who actively advocate for non-citizens and resisting the enforcement of law. And I mean, that's undercutting it, breaking the law. They're sitting here championing that today. And I don't know what can be done, but a vote at the ballot box seems too little too late. Like, I don't know. We've tried to recall these people, that kind of thing. But this is something more than simply being ideologically opposed.
Look, it's the people of California have to make a decision what they want. Now, you and I have both, I'm sure, in our lives had friends who were addicted. Maybe they had too much alcohol. Maybe they took too many prescription pills. And you would talk to them and say, man, you got to change your life. No, I'm fine. And then they don't change their life till they hit bottom. Okay, California has to hit bottom before my friends and neighbors here in my home state decide that they want to do something differently. That the threat of Donald Trump making all the women wear their handmade outfits, which is something I always thought was insane because it's Donald Trump, is less of a threat than criminals and economic chaos. They've got to hit bottom, Will. And then they'll change. But until then, you might be trying to talk somebody out of being a Presbyterian. It's a religious sacrament to them. They can't change until they find it in themselves that it's time to change. And then it will.
Something's got to be done. Something's got to be done about Gavin Newsom. It really does. Something has to be done.
That is terrible.
God help this country if anybody takes him seriously. That's what I was saying. God help anybody in this country that takes him seriously as a candidate for president. I mean,
yeah, they did a few months ago, but every time Gavin Newsom gets up and talks, you're just going to flash that picture of the guy waving the Mexican flag on the motorcycle in front of the burning cars. And everyone's going to go, oh, okay, I'm not voting for that. He's done. He's finished. He's toast. This is the end of Gavin Newsom. Good riddance.
All right. Well, then there's then there is all this imagery. So it's not just imagery. It's not just people waving the Mexican flag and whatever else on the streets of Los Angeles. It's the numbers of people. And I think we're working on still tracking down who a lot of these people are. But it's the numbers of them. And as many pointed out, whatever we're at, and no one actually knows what we're at. 20 million, 30 million, 12 million, whatever the number is of illegal immigrants in this country. It's a lot. And by the way, if this reflects the mindset of illegal immigrants, if what I'm watching reflects the mindset, I'm not American. I'm Mexican. I'm not American. I'm El Salvadorian. I'm not American. I'm these things. And you raise your kids like that. Who was it the other day? Chip Roy said, and then the birth rate of illegal immigrants puts you like 50 million. So you got 50 million people that don't believe in or are not loyal to the United States of America. This is a massive problem in this country. Massive. And to me, Kurt, this isn't tiny. This isn't a few blocks in downtown Los Angeles. If this is at all symbolic of something that is going on across this country, a sentiment at large, we've got a massive long-term problem in the United States.
Look, I think a lot of illegal aliens are here simply to work. And they do still consider themselves from whatever homeland they're from. They probably have it in their head that they're going to go back. And of course, one of the answers is to help them go back. We're doing that. We have learned the first rule of holes, which is you stop digging. We've sealed the border. Now it's time for a negative flow. But it's going to take a long time. Rome was not built in a day. You are not, this situation didn't arise in 1 year. Heck, arguably, it started in 1986 when Ronald Reagan made one of his few mistakes and signed the Simpson-Rizzoli Act and gave amnesty to millions of illegal aliens. It is going to take time. But things are going to happen during that. There are going to be, their children are going to be born here. Many of them will assimilate. Some won't. We will make things more difficult for people to stay here illegally by cracking down on, taxing remittances, making it hard to get ID, making it very difficult to get employed, cracking down on fake documentation. Slowly but surely, now that we've cut the inflow off, we'll have the outflow. But you're right. It is a very big problem, and it's going to take time to solve. But we've started to solve it, and I think the big, beautiful bill is going to help jumpstart it. I can't imagine a Republican now who's going to be able to stand against the big, beautiful bill simply because it's become an immigration bill almost overnight.
I don't have the numbers. I'm going to do this later this week. I've been meaning to look this up. I saw something a few weeks ago, Kurt, and this kind of highlights, is this really about deportation? Is this really about the enforcement? At least there's two groups here. There's like the illegal immigrants, the ones that are actually raising the flag of foreign countries on the streets of New York. And then there's the enablers around them. That's your neighbor, Kurt, you're talking about, right? That's some of those people that show out to the protest. And I put Gavin Newsom in the leader of the enablers group, right? But in the enablers group, is it really about deportations? Because to my knowledge, I don't think Donald Trump's second term as presidency is on pace to outpace Barack Obama's level of deportations. Like, I don't think at this point, unless he really ramps it up, he's going to deport as many people as Barack Obama did. And therefore, what is this all about? It's not about deportations. It's about what we started this conversation about. It's about you're fulfilling my authoritarian dystopian narrative.
Well, let's look at deportations. First of all, like I said, a big, beautiful bill is going to give more resources to do it. But there are different kinds of deportations. Barack Obama was counting people turned away at the border as deportations. Trump's deportations are from the interior of the United States. So you're actually reducing the population here. Those deportations from Obama, what they were doing is reducing the rate of increase. And they're very different things. So look, it is hugely difficult to deport. It is manpower intensive. You have procedures that have to be followed. It costs money. This is one reason why it is so important to make life more difficult for illegal aliens instead of subsidizing it so that they go home voluntarily.
When did this become so controversial, Kurt? In the 80s, Cheech and Chong movies were about La Migra. Like, this is what everybody understood. It's part of the game. Like, you come here illegally, be ready to get caught and deported. But now it's like, oh, that's so beyond the pale to deport an illegal immigrant.
Look, the Democrat Party wants illegal aliens for the reasons the leftist parties in most of the Western countries want leftist party or immigrants. It is because they are unhappy with the voters that they have, and they would like to dilute those votes by bringing in people from other countries who they believe they can lock into their party by handing out scraps from the table. You know, they think they can they bring in a bunch of people from Central America and we will buy them off. They'll be Democrats for life. Now, that has not worked out perfectly. In fact, Trump's approval rating I saw this morning with Hispanic Americans is higher than any other group. It's like 60%. And having married into a family of Latinx immigrants, I know that, if you want to get them mad, bring up illegal aliens, because they did it the hard way, Will. They did it the right way.
Right.
And that's how so many
Right.
people feel. So I think that, look, it's going to be a long process. It's going to be hard. There's going to be setbacks. But the American people are behind it. The American people understand you can't import 20 million people from the third world and not change our country in ways that maybe we don't like and that we certainly weren't asked, for permission to do. Because remember, illegal immigration's illegal. We were asked what we wanted to do. We had Congress pass a law. The president signed it, just like the I'm just a bill when you were a little kid on Saturday morning. That was our answer. No, we don't want to do this. And our ruling class said, we don't care what you want. So much for our democracy. We're going to do what we want. So
Right.
The American people are justifiably upset. And I think they will tolerate a significant and active deportation program. But it's going to be hard, and it's going to take time.
Well, Kurt Schlichter knows something about Los Angeles. He's written the book, Lost Angeles, Silver Bullets on the Sunset Strip. He's a senior columnist at townhall.com. I always appreciate the time that he gives us. You should check him out at those places like Town Hall or pick up his book. Kurt, thanks so much, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Okay, take care. Let me head over to the comment sections on YouTube and Facebook. See what the Willisha has to say about this issue. I know I'm kind of outragey today. 2 days, tinfoil. I'm like, but I'm angry about this. Like, I don't know. I guess like simple allegiance, loyalty, and patriotism isn't too much to ask for me in being a member of this society. It's just not. And to see it not just declined, but trampled, mocked. It's like, fine, time for you to go. Time for you to go. It was past time for you to go, but this makes me outraged. The American says, Democrats don't fight this hard for Americans. Benjamin Wackold says on YouTube, it's rioters, not peaceful protesters. Lighthouse says they are traitors, plain and simple. See, I agree. I don't think I can go far enough to become scandalous on this. This is all common sense. Rusty Shackelford says, offended by everything, ashamed of nothing, entitled to everything, contributing nothing. Oh, that's really good, Rusty. Let me just read that again.
Yeah.
Offended by everything, ashamed of nothing, entitled to everything, contributing nothing.
It's a haiku.
It's really good, Rusty. Nick Mack says Newsom would skedaddle if the whole place was foreigners. Would he govern in Mexico? No, he'd leave. That's so true. I mean, we saw that play out in Martha's Vineyard and everywhere else. What neighborhood does Gavin Newsom live in? Would love to know.
What high castle?
Yeah. Dead Rabbit, though, on YouTube says, we as Americans can wave any flag we choose. Some of you are so anti-American saying we can't use our constitutional rights. Nonsense, Dead Rabbit. This is a Max Kellerman on First Take argument. You're damn right the First Amendment is so American. You can do whatever you want. You know what else I get to do? Judge your ass. By what you say, what you flag, what you wave, judge your ass. Say what you want, and I will think what I want about you. And you raising the flag of a foreign country on the streets of America, you are anti-American. No one's looking to take away anything from an American citizen here in this country and what they have to say. What we're looking to do is take away people who don't have any right to be in America and spit in the eye of Americans by waving that foreign flag. How is that so hard to get, Dead Rabbit? Mike Hernan says, this is truly un-American. I don't know what he's talking about, meaning which side. Mander says, literally none of this S makes sense. And then Peter Kanadu says, by waving the flag of a country you came from, why are you not back in the country you're so proud of? It's freaking right. It's great. Yeah.
Smart audience.
it's funny. Like, of all the things I want to intellectualize, I don't want to intellectualize this one way or another. This burns me up. It really does. I'm just trying to think what the analogy. Someone uninvited comes into your house, puts their feet up on the furniture, says, "Make me," when you say it's time to go. And then I'm trying to figure out what the equivalent of waving their flag is while they do that. I'm trying to figure out what that is. Like kicking your kids out of the house? I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Essentially.
It's just rude behavior, honestly. It's just rude.
Dragging dirt through your house.
All right, let's just take a quick break, come back and talk about rude behavior. How about Simone Biles going after Riley Gaines? You got to hear some of this next on The Will Cain Show. Is Riley Gaines truly sick, or did Simone Biles just torch her legacy? It's the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page. Trying to decide with two-a-days and tinfoil. Did you guys keep up with this over the weekend? This kind of, what's interesting is how many people didn't know about what's going on in L.A. Like in my social life, just actually out there in the world. Maybe that illustrates Kurt's point, like it's not as big as, I don't know. But everybody seems to know about Simone Biles. Yeah. That's my point. This one broke through. Everyone knew about Simone Biles.
Big time. I was surprised. I saw a lot of kind of like left-wing people I know in sports media that were saying this is a miss from Simone, which is surprising to me.
Well, I think that just shows how far the vibe shift and culture has gone back towards common sense of boys participating in girls' sports. That's why it was such a shocker to see Simone Biles do this, to come in like this. And it is interesting how much everyone has gotten to where they hate Riley Gaines on the left. Like so many people on the left, Riley Gaines did make herself rightfully like the centerpiece of this argument, the leader of this counter push. And boy, do they hate her for it. I saw Jamel Hill and everybody else going after her this week. Obviously, Keith Olbermann has in the past. This is how it unfolded. A Minnesota State high school softball championship was won by a team that had a boy on the team. They turned their comments off. So Riley commented, "Hey, comments off, to be expected when your star player is a boy, LOL." And then, of all people, Olympic gymnast Simone Biles jumped in, responded to Riley Gaines. She said, "You are truly sick. All this campaigning because you lost a race. Straight up sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Maybe a transgender category in all sports, but instead, you bully them. One thing for sure is no one in sports is safe with you around." That is Simone Biles going after Riley Gaines. One thing is for sure, no one in sports is safe with you around.
Yikes.
You bully them. Wow. Then so Riley said, "This is so disappointing. My take is the least controversial take on the planet. Simone Biles, being a male apologist at the expense of young girls' dreams, didn't have that on my bingo card. Maybe she could compete in pommel horse and rings in 2028. See, there are 2 days you couldn't come up with the male events. Last week when we talked about this, we had this discussion.
Yeah.
Hey, what is a sport where women are actually better than men? And we discussed gymnastics, right? And then next thing you know, here's Simone Biles, perhaps living in a place where she thinks she is safe from a male jumping in, which I would say she's not. She's not safe. A man could jump into her sport and make her a very sore loser. But it wasn't over. Simone then went ugly at Riley Gaines. You could argue that it's kind of on the issue at that point, but then Simone says, "Bully someone your own size," which would ironically be a male Riley Gaines. So she goes after Riley's body and size. Riley says, "And the subtle hint at body shaming, please, I'm 5'5". Riley went on to take a picture of herself and tweet out, "I figured I'd whip out this tape measure to settle the debate. Wikipedia says I'm 5'9". Simone Biles yesterday told me to bully someone my own size. Then said ironically that would be a man. Number one, acknowledging there's a difference between men and women. It's true. That's what Simone does in that tweet.
Caught.
Number two, this is my 6'4" husband, the same height as Leah Thomas. Back to back, what do we got? 6'4" and 5'5" and a half.
I mean, Simone Biles is like 5 foot.
I bet she's not even.
Yeah.
If that,
I
I
bet
think it's
she's-
under.
Yeah. I mean, what unthinking
4'8".
nonsense.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, that's well under. Well under. And then, do you have this? Yes, you do.
Yeah.
2 days. How about Simone Biles? Then her last entry into this was this. Watch. Laughing at this whole thing. By the way, is that one of those TikTok
Yeah.
somebody else laughs? Or is
Yeah.
that actually her laugh?
No, it's like a lip sync laugh.
Okay, because I was going to say that is a manly laugh.
Hey, how dare you?
Well, it wasn't it?
It was.
I mean, she's on a private jet.
Yeah,
She's on a private
that's
jet.
a money laugh.
Flying, laughing at this body shaming of Riley Gaines and these tweets back and forth. I mean, and you said that a lot of your friends and a lot of people on the left are saying it's a miss by Simone Biles, showing what is Simone Biles doing, taking a moral high ground on what? A 10, 15% proposition at this point? What percentage of the American people believe that men should be able to enter into women's sports, compete, and win against women? It's a fraction of a fraction. It's an extreme minority position. But on social media, she'll get her support, like I mentioned earlier. She'll get the people that vilify Riley Gaines. And it's just really gross, honestly, that Simone Biles would do this. It's gross towards Riley, very, but it's also gross towards women's sports. That she would sell out young girls for virtue signaling about some unthinking feeling of empathy towards the trans community. The only way to make this group of people feel good is by sacrificing the competitive integrity of women's sports. The entire thing on which she built her career. The entire reason that we know who she is. That we know Simone Biles. It's ridiculous. And to do so all from the 30,000-foot lofty presence of a private jet. There you go. There's your hero, Simone Biles. Riley Gaines will be on the 4 o'clock Will Cain Show today. Make sure you tune in, 4 o'clock Eastern Time on the Fox News Channel. We'll talk to Riley Gaines about all of this and what she thinks about Simone Biles. But that's going to do it for us today here. We will hope you come hang out with us again tomorrow. Same time, same place. YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple. I'll see you again next time.